before history knew it would be remembered, before names were carved into memory. History lived quietly. It lived in moments, in lives that unfolded without knowing they would matter. History did not begin as lessons. It began as life. Most people remember Catherine of Aragon for her long struggle to hold on to a marriage and the quiet, painful exile that ended her life. But that is not where her story begins. In this chapter, we step back, before she was known as Henry VIII's first wife. This is the story of Catherine of Aragon, a princess of Spain, before the crown. It is a story of steadfast faith and dignity, of a young woman whose strength was tested long before she became Queen of England. Her throne was not given freely. It was endured, and it was earned. By the time Arthur died, Catherine of Aragon already understood the world she was living in. She understood that royal marriages were never only about love, and that widowed princesses were rarely allowed to choose their own endings. Almost immediately after Arthur's death, a question began to circulate quietly through courts and councils, not spoken aloud in public, but discussed carefully behind closed doors. What was to be done with Catherine? Sending her back to Spain would mean far more than a simple farewell. It would mean admitting that the alliance between England and Spain had failed. It would mean returning a dowry that King Henry VII had absolutely no desire to repay. And it would mean losing a political bond that both kingdoms still wanted to preserve. There was only one alternative that truly made sense. Catherine could marry again. Not to a foreign prince, not to a distant ally, but to the only man who could replace what had been lost. Henry, Arthur's younger brother. At first, the idea was not considered scandalous. It was practical. It was discussed by diplomats, encouraged by Catherine's father, Ferdinand of Aragon, and quietly prepared by Henry VII himself. So real, in fact, that a papal dispensation was requested, permission from the church that would allow Catherine to marry Henry if her first marriage had not been fully completed. And Catherine understood exactly what that condition meant. In the world she lived in, her future depended on a single truth: whether her marriage to Arthur had been consummated. If she admitted that it had been, her life in England would effectively be over. She could not marry Henry. Her political value would vanish, and she would likely be sent home, remembered only as a failed alliance. But if the marriage had not been consummated, everything remained possible. So Catherine chose her ground. She stated, firmly and consistently, that her marriage to Arthur had never been consummated. She did not change this story. She did not soften it, and she did not retreat from it, even when questioned repeatedly. For 7 years, Catherine waited in a foreign land with patience and quiet determination. She endured uncertainty without surrendering her dignity, holding firmly to her place as a daughter of Spain and a woman who understood her own worth. She refused the easy exit, the kind that would have sent her home in silence, remembered only as a failed alliance. Instead, Catherine remained visible, composed, and undeniably relevant, preserving her position as a woman still worthy of choice, respect, and a future. What crossed my mind was, why did it take 7 years? Was it simply because Henry was still too young? At first glance, that answer seems reasonable. Henry was only a boy when Arthur died, and a royal marriage could not happen overnight. But the truth was not that simple. The waiting did not last 7 years because time was needed. It lasted because time was being withheld. As long as Henry VII lived, Catherine's future remained deliberately suspended. The old king was cautious, calculating, and deeply protective of his power. Keeping Catherine in England preserved the Spanish alliance, avoided the return of her dowry, and kept every diplomatic option open. So Catherine waited. Not because no decision could be made, but because no decision was allowed to be final. In 1509, everything changed. Henry VII died, and with him, the long delay ended. The throne passed to his son. Henry VIII became King of England. And suddenly, there was no one left to hold Catherine's future in place. What had been postponed for 7 years was decided in weeks. The waiting was over. When Henry VIII married Catherine of Aragon, he did not marry a girl who had drifted into her fate. He married a woman who had survived 7 years of uncertainty by knowing exactly which truth she could never afford to lose.